This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Time to catch up with Titus O'Reily. We get to speak to him all the time about his information about sport. He knows every story.
Things, Shaun.
He
I
knows
love
hearing
stories.
his
information
about
sport. And he's put them in a book.
He certainly has the 7 deadly sins of sport. This would be great for Christmas presents / stocking filler. Good morning to you, Titus.
Oh, good morning. And that's exactly... It's for the uncle you don't know that well. For Christmas.
It nails it. It nails that brief.
Titus, I don't think it's a stocking filler, though. Like a filler is grated carrot in a sandwich. This here is the main event.
It's a stuffer.
Isn't it?
Oh, you're too kind.
Yeah, Titus, all the stories in here, it's great. And getting back to you handball this to someone, a lot of the information we don't know. I was just telling the guys, first cab off the rank, you're talking about Lionel Messi in this, or Lionel Messi.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yes.
And
he's
lazy everywhere.
More than
he's
anyone
lazy.
Else. Yeah.
How can you be lazy if you walk? What do you mean?
Well, they've in the 2022 World Cup, which they won. He would just stroll around. They measured it, and he walked more than any other player by a mile.
As in everyone else is running. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he literally looks like a guy on Smoko.
Yeah.
Like he looks like.
But the thing is, though, honestly, when you get to a stage where you look around and you go, I can buy all of this, everything I see, the people in it, the stadium, the town. I can buy all this.
Yeah.
Why walk? Why run? You know what I mean?
Well, that's right. But the thing, what he's doing is he lulls everyone into a false sense of security. So people start to go, I don't need to watch this guy. Yeah. And Graham Arnold, when he was coaching the Socceroos at that World Cup, I caught up with him once, and he actually told me that in the middle of the game, and Australia were attacking, and he's watching, but then he sees Lionel Messi just looking up in the stands just above Graham Arnold's head. And Graham Arnold starts to go, what's going on behind me? And he turns around and looks, and there's nothing, and then he looks back at Messi and realises Messi's just playing mind games with him.
Amazing.
In the
He's
middle of
literally
a World
messing.
Cup.
So he's messy with their minds. That's insane.
Yeah, so that's the thing, when you're right, when you're on $1 billion, you can probably muck around a bit more.
You can do it.
This is why this is the first step to joining other billionaires on an island and hunting working day, everyday people.
Except he couldn't be bothered.
That's the first step.
He wouldn't hunt because
it's the first step.
Too lazy.
Well, people, that'd be fun to hunt them.
Titus, there's a bit of
a dream. We all want to do that.
There's a bit of connection with South American footballers because some of the Brazilian guys used to just turn up to training and barely do anything. Like they don't actually. Some of them, I'm not putting them all in this category. They've got this natural skill and they don't really give to.
Oh, yeah, so everyone else has to train, but they can just do it. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, a heap of them, like, Romario, Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo. Ronaldo once said, I want to go to Carnival, so can I leave the club early? And they said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, if I score 2 goals in the game, can you sub me off and I'll go to Carnival?
So I'll just get it done quickly and go?
Just do your job and get out.
Goals. He scored 3 goals, and before the game was over, he was on a plane to Carnival.
Can I just say, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. Like, that's a big thing for a coach to do. Okay, you did what you agreed to, but we'd like more goals.
Yes,
let you go. You're on fire. Wow.
Ronaldinho, when he went back to Brazil, had in his contract, he had to be allowed to go to nightclubs 2 nights a week, no matter what. It's actually in his contract.
And don't you dare ask what's going up my nose.
That's so good.
But even worse, he then went out more than the 2 nights, obviously. And so the president of the club launched a hotline on TV and ran ads where you could ring and dob him in if you saw him out.
Oh, my God.
Surely you'd just go, give me $1,000 and I won't dob you in.
Wow.
For sure.
Well, doesn't that you don't need a hotline in Perth with Eagles players. That's just in the paper the next day.
Well, I tell you though, I used the power of this show once. I made a New Year's resolution because I had a real problem, Titus, and I was lying about it to friends. I was eating 6 dim sims a day, and I would go the shop I'd go to. Suddenly she was like, she got to know me well enough, and then one day she sort of asked me, 6 dim sims a day, and she shamed me.
Yes.
So in the moment, I created a friend that I get the dim sims for. I'm the go between, and then I on air made a New Year's resolution that I'm not not going to eat dim sims again. I asked Perth to keep me accountable.
Yeah, if you see Nathan.
And I went in probably about 2-3 months afterwards to go to a fish and chip shop to order dim sims, and they said, you're not allowed to. It's really good to be held publicly accountable.
I just love the extreme lengths you're going to over Don't you miss them?
Don't you miss them?
I miss them every day. I think of them. I love them. I love them steamed. I love them deep fried. I love them battered. You give it to whatever you want to do with dim sim, I'll eat it.
But don't put it in your
I
mouth.
have these images of like train spotting when he's coming off heroin, but that's you. That's
very
you with
similar.
dim sim.
And
The stuff he's done for a dim sim, Titus, you don't want to
breaking
know.
into fish and chip shops to feed my habit.
Titus, one of the great stories which we've all talked about in, when you're around cricket clubs in particular, David Boone
Yes.
just getting
On
absolutely
the flight to
sideways.
London.
And in the part about sloth, I think you were talking about Dougie Walters and... Was it Rod Marsh?
Rod Marsh,
They were the
yeah.
ones who got stuck into it on a trip back from the West Indies.
Yeah, they did, and it was. So this was how many beers you could drink on a flight, and it used to be used often Sydney to London, but they did it on others, and
This
it
is a
became a
sports
tradition.
team, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Australian cricket team. No.
Yeah, so David Boone, this was in '86. He set the last record, which was 52 cans of beer on the flight from Sydney to London.
so
But before that, Doug Walters had set it in '78 at like 43, and him and Rod Marsh had sworn he had matched Doug Walters on that, and they went. All the other cricketers went, "No, you had one less," and he held that grudge for 5 years.
Like he was drunk, he couldn't remember.
No, he was like every time it came up, he went, "You guys counted wrong. I matched him drink for drink," and so he decides to go and do it on the '83 tour, and he got on the plane, and this shows you how much the world's changed. He got on the plane. And he said to the air stewardess, as they were called back then, I'm going to drink 44 cans of beer on this flight and break the record. And she said, you drink them, I'll bring them.
That is, you know what? That back then, that was when,
that's
that was when
living,
flying meant something.
But
Well,
there's
and you can have a durry while you were
responsible
doing
service
it.
of alcohol.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was no response. So she was bringing 2 cans at a time, and she, halfway through the flight, she came up and said, oh, excuse me, Mr. Marsh, and he thought he was going to be cut off. And she said, I hope you really don't mind, but I'm keeping the pilots up to date on how you're going, and they're really interested.
The pilots are
And when they landed at Heathrow, they came on and gave the weather and the time like they normally do, welcome to Heathrow. And then over the loudspeaker they go, and we'd also like to congratulate Rod Marsh for setting a new record of 44 cans of beer on the flight.
And I
It
bet you
was
the
a
crowd
different
went
time.
up.
At the
Don't you
moment,
reckon?
right? At the moment with politics and everything, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it in America. It's a anti-woke sort
it
of
is.
thing.
Yeah, it
People are
is.
going against, all this correct behaviour. That there is back in the day is insane. When we're working here now, remember the Talking Boonies came out?
Yeah.
With beer. Because you used to no one else
VB.
with beer.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't fly nowadays, would it?
No, they used to be hardcore on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, because it's not responsible service.
God, isn't it great that we lived back in the day? And isn't it scary thinking this is going to be back in the day for kids? So what's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
restrictions in the future?
Yeah.
That's mental.
Amazing.
It's not fair. It's not fair for the younger generation.
I know. They don't have enough.
I'm a bit old. I tell people, like, I used to go to pubs when I was a teenager, and there was no such thing as showing ID. No one even thought of it. And I got carded the other day, and I was kind of thrilled because I'm 46, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I said, really? And he goes, oh, no, mate, we just legally have to.
Come on.
Titus, I just have a vision of you as a teenager, and I think that you looked
He's wearing a
exactly
hat,
the same. Is that fair?
Oh, I was one of those teenagers that when I was 14, I looked 48. I really did. I was always the one they tried to send into the bottle shop,
Hey, Titus, I was the tallest kid in year 8. You know when you sort of blend into your high school because it's scary. In year 8, I was the tallest kid in my high school at that point, and I wore red shorts and a green and white striped shirt, and I looked like
not to stand out.
I wore what I wore to the year 7 social to my first day, and I looked like the biggest knob. Surprisingly,
Some things don't change. Thanks,
Surprised
Titus.
or not?
Titus, we can get hold of your book. It's called The 7 Deadly Sins of Sport. Really good read. Great stories, as we just
Just
heard
in
a few
time
of
for
them.
Christmas.
Yeah. Awesome, Titus.
People really tell you stuff, don't they, Titus?
Yeah.
And then you put it in books, so there's no
I love
trust
it.
there, is it?
No trust. I betray every trust for a good read.
So,
Love you,
Titus,
Wick.
we have to put you on the bench, I think, because you're doing a radio stint coming up.
I am.
Are you
I am,
cheating?
yeah.
Good luck.
I know, and I'm also over in Perth next week. I've got 2 shows over there. I think they're both sold out. But
okay.
At the Rosemont Hotel there.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting over there.
So a show on a rival station, I hear. So when you get over here, maybe instead of an interview, we'll do the Anchorman Showdown.
Yep.
Shaun, in a car
streets.
park somewhere.
That's a good idea.
I like. Well, I see a David Boone drinking competition in their future.
Right.
Shaun's in.
You're in.
All right. Love your work. Thanks, Titus.
Thanks,
Thanks,
mate.
guys.
See you, mate.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
I was able to go along to an event last night to support Matthew Pavlich, who was inducted into the WA Hall of Champions. And when you go to Wace and Mount Clermont there's a big hallway and you walk down and there's all the photos of the
there is
legends.
an actual Hall of Champions.
Yeah, there is, absolutely.
I look back at your illustrious career and I'm wondering, why aren't you in a hall somewhere? Even like a corridor of, hey, I know him.
Yeah, like at least
Probably
I'm a
the
Lawley
same time
legend.
that
You know what I
you'll be
mean?
inducted into the into the Radio Hall of Fame.
Oh, mate, we wouldn't even get into the building.
Well, there we go.
Let alone the hall.
That's right. So Pav was inducted and it's fantastic, and embraced as a West Australian, although he came from South Australia.
But he played his whole career here, so that makes sense. Yeah.
And it was great to see him up there and make mention. I mean, they want to ask him questions about how it all started and his time in Adelaide, and his mum Jan having a list of players that the Dockers should take ahead of Matthew Pavlich. And then, obviously, his first training day when he turned up and he came off the back of school, he's dehydrated all get up, and we did the 90 minutes worth of training, and then he did 5 1Ks and he
collapsed. He collapsed.
He was taken to ICU, and then they had to ring Jan, Pav's mum, and tell him she didn't want him to be there in the first place.
Can we get that list again? Because maybe we want to swap him out.
One down. So it was great, and Pav looks $1 million. And by the way, Lauren looked hot as chips, his wife.
No
She's
surprise.
amazing. I actually look at, Pav's good-looking rooster.
Yeah, keep going.
I do look around the table and go, geez, all of us collectively have batted way above.
Can I just say, let's
well.
take a minute there. Footballers are lucky, and I wonder if they're in it when they know it, because hot chicks want to be with them, and they usually have their pick. I feel sorry for the hot chicks that get there late and have to get the munted-headed ones. Because then later on you go, okay, I'm living the life of a wag, but when I reproduce, that face is going to be on my baby.
I know. And then I've got to pretend I love that baby.
And no lip gloss or filters in the world is going to change what's coming out of there.
So it was a fantastic night. The first person to be inducted was Mike Hussey.
Great.
And Justin Langer was invited up to talk about Mike before he got up on stage. And I didn't know that. So Mike Hussey came into Test cricket at the age of 30.
Yes,
and it took him,
which is late,
Yeah, it took him ages to be able to break into that Australian Test team. And it came at the expense of Justin Langer, who got hit in the nets in a game at the Gabba.
Yep.
And then they had to call an SOS to Mike Hussey and say, hey, can you get on the nearest... He was down at the beach walking with his wife.
Yeah.
And they said, can you get on the next plane as fast as you can? We got to get you up here because Justin's injured. And when he got to Queensland and walked into the first meeting that they had, Justin said to him, I don't know why you're here. Not they're friends, but he said, I'm playing.
I don't know what
I'm
you're
not
doing.
giving up a chance to play for Australia, not in a million years.
Yeah.
And so Mike thought that he would have a couple of days up in Queensland will be pretty cool. Might
And
be able to
head
get out
home.
there and field at some stage.
Great story to tell later. But he did play, I take it.
Yeah, so Justin had a net session the next day, and Mike was basically just doing some fielding, and then Justin just walked up to him and after batting for an hour and just said, good luck tomorrow, mate. You'll be taking my spot. He couldn't get through.
Did he ever go back and get his wife from the beach?
No. Really good question. There should have been a follow-up.
I'm just I know you're telling us what I'm concerned for.
Yeah. Amy, she's lovely. So congratulations to those guys. JJ Miller was in... he's gone from the
So
Hall
he's
of
related to you, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Who isn't?
So there was 4 tables around me. There was a lot of tables there, and it was 2 tables of the Dockers, and then tables either side kind of locking us in was a table of the Millers, where we're originally from, and a table of the Neeshams.
Oh, who you're also
Harry
related
Neesham
to.
is, my dad's first cousin. They're all my cousins, and he's in the Hall of Legends too because he's a champion footballer as well back in the day.
Wow.
So
So JJ Miller was elevated to legend
status, and he's a character. He's 90 now.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go over and see. I reckon I was last over. He's one of those guys who's always on to the next thing that will stop injuries or prevent you getting sorer.
Yeah, right.
So he used to. I rocked over his house a couple of years ago, and he made me this beaded magnet
Okay, yeah.
chain to
Did it
put
help?
around my wrist.
Because
and
you
stuff like
need
that.
all the help you can get.
You can buy them in the centre of shopping markets or any good bong shop.
Yeah. So he won the Melbourne Cup, yeah?
He won the Melbourne Cup,
Amazing.
absolutely.
That's amazing.
So it's weird because when I look back, I'm thinking through my family, none of us are in any halls of fame.
No.
At all. Natalie, any halls of fame? My uncle Des, he made it into a darts book because he was a darts champion.
Oh, lovely.
But that's as
Good on
far
you,
as we
Uncle
got
Des.
with accolades.
Pretty sure that, like, my great-grandfather was the mayor, so there's of East Man, also where I live, so there's a park and a street named after him, so that's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, the Morrises founded Morris Place here.
Not true.
Our family, and established the pub and the shopping centre around it.
Not true.
As a community of what we think the future should be.
Yeah. Well,
Not true.
In our, when we all used to get together and there was, hundreds of people, all it was sport and all these people played at a high level. And Rove, I spoke to him yesterday.
So
he's going well.
When we're all together, it looks like we're about to go on to the Jerry Springer show.
My pop actually was a Golden Glove boxer, and he won the Hayward Medal, which is the best player in the Southwest. Of course, back in the day, there was the waffle in the Southwest, and because you were in the country like Busselton and all those types of areas, the competition was as strong as everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
In fact, the first time my dad met my pop was at the Burragoon Hotel. There used to be a pub at Garden City.
Yes.
And my dad got in a fight with him because he was the bouncer there.
Yep.
And then Dad had to turn up to a wedding. Mum invited Dad to a wedding. And the first time he gets to this wedding, he's just sitting there with Mum, and he's looking at this bloke who he's had a big punch up.
And it was Sue's dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ray.
That's an
What a
awkward
champion.
conversation.
The first time my dad ever met my mum, they got off the bus to get married. So they came from Sydney and they hadn't met before.
They lobbed here.
Yep, they went from Sydney, got on a bus, they came here, they got off. He met Nana and Granddad then, and then I think they got married the next day. I thought you ran stuff by people like back then.
Yeah, you would have had to back then.
So you know what? STD calls.
Yeah, they're very expensive. It's a trunk call.
We have to do this face to face inside of a minute because we're getting married.
Exactly.
Great night all round. So
Yeah, well
congratulations.
done.
Oh, sorry, I got to mention Nina Kennedy won the Herb Elliott Medal,
Yes.
which was
wow.
WA's greatest
deserving.
performance this year. And of course, what an event.
Yeah.
I didn't know she won 8 Diamond League events this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's had a cracker season. Yeah.
And you get about $35,000 to $40,000 US each one. So times that by 8. That's not Australian dollars, obviously, US dollars.
Yeah.
But you
Let
know
alone
what?
appearance money to
Think
get there.
about what it's cost her to get to this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. Well done, Nina. Great job.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.